Hi, and so for today, I thought we would continue on with some tarot deck stuff. And I know I've written about that, like how to choose your deck, that sort of thing. But I thought we'd start going into some basic understanding behind the deck itself. And so for that reason, I thought I'd do a video. I do have notes, I shall be referring to them. And I do have a selection of cards to show you along the way. So first off, a tarot deck can be made from any deck that you have, or a collection of deck cards. An example of this is what I call my, a shit deck. My shit deck's actually a very good deck. It's not a rubbish deck at all. But I call it that because quite simply it calls people out on their BS. I don't often use it in readings. Many people don't like to hear from it because it really does put things into perspective. However, if I'm doing a big reading, say using 3 decks plus some runes and a crystal oracle card, then I will use it to give a full rounded reading for that person. So I'm just going to go and grab my shit deck so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is the deck. It's in my sleeves. These are actually Magic the Gathering cards. I play a lot of Magic the Gathering, and I resonate with the storyline behind the cards quite strongly, especially the Victorian ones, Innistrad, Shadows over Innistrad, and stuff like that. So this is a good example here. And some other examples. This is Ujin's Conjurant, or Conjurant. Don't know if you can see the words on there. There you go. Sever the Bloodline. Okay, so I made up my own deck out of these cards. All right, there's another one there called Black Cat. It's a zombie cat. Bombard, it's a bit like the Tower card. Nightmare. All right, so you get the idea, and there's some Planeswalkers that I've put in there as well. So a tarot deck can be made of any sort of playing cards that you like completely. All right. But what makes a deck itself? Well, quite simply, a deck traditionally is made up of categories, okay? And this determines the meanings of the cards. A deck has traditionally 78 cards in it, okay? And 22 of these will have Roman numerals on them and names such as the World, Hermit, High Priestess, stuff like that. So a good example of this is this card here. You see that? That is the World. Okay, so she's got the world beneath her feet. That's a very good card. And I love the imagery on this card. This is actually one of my favorite decks. So yeah, perfect. Now, personally, I've not come across anyone that actually calls them by their Roman numerals. Everyone just calls them by their names, like the World, the Tower, Chariot, Lovers, Strength, okay? These 22 cards are called the Major Arcana. Now, this is Latin, and it means the greater mysteries, okay? So, so this is like a really in-depth thing, the greater mysteries from the universe, that sort of thing. So these major arcanas, also people refer to them, and I do, as an archetype card. And they represent experiences that we resonate. So the journeys we go on through our life, like our fate, our path, that sort of thing. That's the archetype card. The archetype is us, all right? We are the archetype. So it's like learning experiences and stuff like that. So for example, this one here, this is the Hermit. Okay. So the Hermit can be seen as you are withdrawing from life, depending on the cards that come before or after. So the drawing from life can then be seen as a positive or a negative thing, depending on the cards that come before it or after it, or if it just pulled singularly. Okay, because you could withdraw into life because you're really depressed, because your mental health isn't great, but you could withdraw into life because you want to do further in-depth private study. Okay, so this is where the reading of the cards comes into play. All right. Trying to think. The world is another good one. So like the world is, I'll go back to this one. This is like your ultimate goal. Yeah, you are on top of your shit, basically. You've got it together. The world's beneath your feet. You're in control of your life. This is a great card. Cards that people do not want. The death card. But death is about change. Very rarely is death about death. I've had that once in, I'm 50 now. I've been reading tarot. I was trained by my nan when I was in my teens. So I've pulled the death card once for it to actually mean death. And that was due to a leukemia patient. All right. Very, very specific. Every other time it's been made change. It is change. Death is change. Don't be too scared. In fact, I've even got, if I can show you my body up here, just so you know how scary it is. Not, look, I've got the death tarot card on here because I'm embracing change. Okay, death's not to be scared of. It is just change from one thing into another. That's what that means. A card that even I will not have tattooed on my body is the Tower card. Probably of all the cards out there, that is the card I do not want to get because it can go either way. So this is my Tower card. All right, it's absolutely beautiful card. I love the artwork on it. Okay, but basically this means that something drastic, dramatic, out of your control traditionally is going to happen to your life. You're going to be taken to the rock bottom, to the core, and you have to rebuild again. Again, though, taken by itself, that sounds awful, but I've done a reading recently, whereas this was the opening card, but every card that came after it was really positive. So that was more of a sign of like, you know what, your current situation is going to change dramatically. You are going to have to rebuild, but by doing so, it's a positive thing. There's some great stuff. So sometimes you need to destroy the old, and that can be a very positive, beneficial thing. Now, also the other time you'll get this card quite often is if you've had a few things like I call warning cards, and it's like, yeah, you really should be doing this. You haven't done this. This really needs to change. And if you do not change, boom, this is the card that you're going to get. All right. So like, put all the other bits into place to hopefully avoid this card. But if you don't, this is going to happen. And you want to try and have some control of what's going to happen in your life. You don't want it to be completely down to this card. All right. So take action in your life. Okay. That's my advice for you for that card. The rest of the cards there's 56 cards, and they're called the Minor Arcana. Okay. These deal with the more everyday, day-to-day, humdrum thing of life, all right? And the Minor Arcana are put into suits, and the examples here. Okay, you've got like swords, pentacles, cups, wands. All right, so they're traditionally the suits that you have. All right. Now, each of these are connected to specific meanings as well, and I'm not going to discuss Crowley's version. Because what many people, a lot of people do have his deck, but I'm going to stick to the more traditional deck that I would think the majority of people have, because he changed like the strength card around and some other things, right? But traditionally, these are the meanings. So wands is your fire, your passion, what drives us, your careers. Cups, water, it's emotion, right? Your mental health, the creativity, your loves, relationships, your family. Pentacles is very earth-based. It's your basic human needs, right? What gets you functioning, like your money, that sort of thing. Health of the body, right? It's a very grounded thing. It's not very spiritual, it's very grounded. And swords, it's more up there in the air. It's airy, it's intelligence, your thought process, problems and challenges that you have to deal with. Now, the minor cards are numbered 1 through to 10. Okay, there isn't a number 1 though. It is an ace card. I don't have an example here, but they are ace cards. Okay, so ace is the beginning, 10 is the end. And a good way of looking at it, if you're just starting out, is 1 is the beginning, 10 is the end. All right, so if you pull an ace card, you're at the beginning of a journey. All right, 5, you're in the middle. And the more you go past 5 to 10 comes to the end of that experience. It's the easiest way of thinking about the 1 through to 10s. All right. yes, the beginning of the cycle and an end of the cycle or situation. All right, you've reached the pinnacle. So these minors are also a journey of your life. And it shows how far along you are through your current path, hence the 1 through to 10. And to end this session now, I'll talk about the court cards quite briefly. These are part of the suits, and I showed you one here. You've got the page, you've got the king, but you also have queen and knight. All right, so they are your court cards, and they are like, again, you have them of the cups, of the swords, of the wands, of the pentacles. Okay, so you're like the king of wands, queen of pentacles, that sort of thing. Now, believe it or not, you can be all those things. You know, you can be a page, a knight, a queen, and a king. They all make up you, because you might have one of those aspects in a new hobby you're doing, right? So you could be like the page in a new hobby you're doing. But at work, you might be quite authoritative, so you could be like a king, and if it doesn't, and gender is irrelevant, okay? They're gender fluid, but you might be a king at work, so a page in a new hobby, king at work. You might be like a queen at home or with your family, right? You might be a knight if you're about to plan things in action or you're doing things in action. So they all embody you. You can be them all, you can be them one, but that is what they are. All right, they represent who you are. Okay, they're all us. They're still us, but us in different situations. Now, something that I have to add here is a couple of disclaimers. So, like, remember that tarot is not fortune telling. Okay, it can't predict your future. People think it can. It cannot. Think of it as a friend that sits beside you, that gives you a hug, gives you some advice that you're looking for, except this advice is coming from your spirit guides, it's coming from the universe, it's coming direct from source energy. So it's an external thing like that, okay? It's a metaphysical hug, all right? That's what tarot does. And it's not set in stone, okay? This is your fate, you're locked into it. You do have, it just gives a snapshot of where your situation is at this moment if things do not change. And it could be like that for years, all right? Or it could be showing you a progression that you want to do. It really depends what you're asking, what you want, what friendly advice you want from the universe, okay? It's going to sound really weird. Some people do not give negative information out. I think that's wrong. I personally believe that if somebody comes to me for tarot reading, I'm not going to give horrendous information out. I will try and sugarcoat it a bit, obviously, like the positive sandwich, as they say. But if you want a rounded tarot reading, don't just cherry pick the good bits. You kind of need the mediocre bits. You kind of need the bits you don't want to hear. Otherwise, your friend is just a yes person. A true friend will give it to you straight, right? They put it across nicely, but they're going to give you a rounded explanation, all right? So that's what tarot reading is. And the other thing I would say is if you're selling your services, if you're going to set yourself as a professional tarot reader, which, I am a professional tarot reader, I do earn money from it. Under UK licensing law, you have to put a disclaimer, okay? Which is that witchcraft is for entertainment purposes only. Because of the repeal of the Witchcraft Acts and all the rest of it over the many years that have happened, if the government said that witchcraft is not for entertainment purposes only, that means they acknowledge it is real and it exists. Okay? And I'm going to let you sit and think on that one for a minute. The church stopped the witch hunts because they decided that witchcraft was fake. All right? The government allows these things because they can't keep imprisoning witches. Okay, so witchcraft in this country is seen purely for entertainment purposes only. All right, so you can't be sued for giving someone tarot advice. It is purely entertainment, and that is so important because there are a number of outlets. Etsy is definitely one of them. Potentially your own website. I would put a disclaimer there anyway. But there's many online platforms that will state you have to say it is for entertainment purposes only. So on that note, I'm going to love and leave you. I hope this has been a kind of a good introduction into tarot and how the cards work and what a deck is made up of. And next time I will be going through the cards a bit more and then kind of given some homework, if that makes any sense. But anyway, for now, I'm going to love and leave you, and have a great day. Bye.